seated. Remember to silence your cell phones if you have them. The first item on the agenda is citizen concerns. Is there anyone to speak on an item not already addressed on the agenda? Hearing none, the second item is approval of the agenda.
I'll move it.
I'll second the motion by Radig. Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Items 3 through 7 constitute a consent agenda of routine action items to be considered by one motion. Items pass unanimously unless a separate vote is requested by a board member. Item 3 is approval of the minutes of the July 14th meeting. Item 4 is approval of the claims. Yes.
On this here, we'd like to pull the claims of the architect over, pull that for approval later on the meeting.
Yes, you can make that clear for the minutes. We're pulling the claim that's referenced later on in the agenda at this time. That's understood. Item 5 from Human Resources is approval of the memorandum of personnel transactions. Item 6 in Board Administration is approval of lifting of tax suspensions for initials AM. Item 7 from the Board of Supervisors, myself, is approval of the revised 2020 committee assignments. In that, I gave Supervisor Wright one of his own department to liaison, as well as added him to a couple of the ones that we currently sit on, as well as a few, but not too many committees because we're more than halfway through the year. So, any comments on the consent agenda? If not, is there a motion?
I'll move approval. Second.
Motion by DeWitt, second by Radig. Mr. Wright, if you have any questions, the board office, Karen, will help set you up with all those meetings. They also do a good job of sending us weekly reminders for committees that each of us have that week. Hearing no other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Item 8 is from on behalf of the Siouxland Initiative for Action. This is a request from the Siouxland Initiative for Economic Development for additional air services provided to the Sioux City Airport. I'm sure we've all seen the news that this is a deal is in the works, and part of that deal is local support. My understanding is this support level over 2 fiscal years matches what the county did successfully for another route out of Sioux Gateway Airport. Does anyone have any objections on moving forward in this way?
I'd just like to say it is a benefit to our county to have additional flights coming out of our local airport. More competition in the area, more flights. It just brings down the cost of service and cost of tickets, even in a tough time to fly.
Absolutely. Any other comments? And I'll move approval.
Second.
Second by Potabom. Hearing no other discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Item 9 for Board Administration includes back on the agenda item A and B. A is the approval of a conflict waiver for a 2080 agreement in the next item. Is it okay, Dennis, if I ask Joshua to comment on this? Would you please give a summary on why it's back on the agenda?
Well, we had tabled it last week because there was a new idea as far as a way of possibly, without entering the 2080 agreement, the alternative idea was to pay it through the claims process without entering the 2080 agreement. And I gave that some thought and visited with the authority's attorney as well. We both agreed that as between the two options, the 2080 agreement is the better option. As far as there's a written agreement. It also requires repayment after the bonds are issued that the authority issues. So there's still, I guess, the initial questions, or at least issues that were raised related to the uniqueness of doing the 2080 agreement, but as between a 2080 agreement and just paying the claim, we do feel the 2080 agreement is the superior option. So I believe that's why it's back on the agenda before the board today.
Is it correct to say we have other parties that are waiting to be paid?
As far as I know, currently it's just the architect, and then if there's part of a civil engineer potentially, that for the authority side of it, that covers part of his. I think it's $156,000 total.
The attorney?
No, this would be a civil engineer, but it's very little. Most of it is the architect, but the architect hires a civil engineer
Okay.
for the project, so it's all mixed in with his fee.
So there's no other parties that are waiting on, that need to wait for? Okay.
So like the advisor on the bond, do they get paid when the bonds are issued? Are they doing work now and then they're paid at that
The
point?
underwriter,
Yeah.
or the fiscal advisor,
Right.
they get paid when the bonds are sold and sold. Or sold and closed. When the bonds are actually closed, the fiscal advisor gets paid and the attorney gets paid, and the underwriter.
So are,
Once they're sold,
so are they not waiting?
yes. But that was right under contract agreement with them, that they had to wait until they were sold. We really never had anything like that with the architect.
Okay. And that's the failing here, is not having it addressed in the original contract.
Potentially, we're planning on having everything, the lease signed, a couple months after the passage of the bond issue, but it took longer because it's kind of unique lease. It's a long lease, and we had Joshua looking, we had Dan Moore looking at it, we had our attorney looking at it for the authority. It took time, but it's down to a pretty perfect lease, as close as we can get it, put it that way. So it took extra time to get through the lease, but now we're kind of on a roll.
But we're not talking about the lease right now. Okay.
No, that's why, he's done a lot of work prior to this time.
So we need a motion on the conflict waiver?
Yes.
I'll move it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by Potabom. Still not thrilled about it. But it is, it's a reality of a big project, and, just being a little averse to a new idea, that's what I don't like, but at the same time, not having similar precedents that we can definitely say is this is going to present a problem to the project as a whole. I don't know. Anyone else? What do you guys feel about it? You okay with it?
I'm good.
Right. Okay. Hearing no other discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0 for the conflict waiver. Item B is approval of resolution to consider and approve the 2080 agreement between Woodbury County, Iowa and the Woodbury County Law Enforcement Center Authority for the payment of certain architectural design fees for the Law Enforcement Center.
I'll move it.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by DeWitt. Hearing no discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0.
Now,
Right.
now we can approve the claim, because we pulled it out, now it can be approved now that this is in place. To be added back in, I guess, however you want to handle it there.
Pat, what's the best way to do that? Should we fall back on the understanding at the beginning that it was contingent? Should we make a separate motion?
I should probably move the approval of claims, right?
Yeah, just make a motion to approve that other claim that was there. I'll clean it up.
Could we just,
Well, we pulled the claims off the consent agenda, didn't we?
Just one.
Just
Just one.
Okay.
Pull this out of it.
Just approve that claim, then we'll be
Okay.
good.
Well, I'll move to approve that claim.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by Potabom. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those say nay. Passes 5-0. As a subset of item 9. Item 10 from Secondary Roads, County Engineer Mark Nera, includes A, for action, approval of a contract with Habitat Restoration Services, LLC.
A number of months ago, Habitat Restoration Services requested the upgrade of a level C, minimum maintenance, minimal access road to a level A road for the purpose of allowing them to build a home back on the right-of-way. As part of doing that, we're requesting to acquire a small amount of right-of-way from them. There's a little triangle between county right-of-way that runs along the south line of Section 17 and the right-of-way of 130th Street. This will allow us to do a much better job of building the road, maintaining drainage alongside of that road upon completion, and ties our right-of-way together. What we're proposing is a credit to the cost of that road grade upgrade that they pay for under Policy and Procedure Manual number 3. When we have roads that don't meet current county standards and someone decides to build a house along them, we bill them for the cost of that road upgrade. So this would be an $830 credit to their road upgrade. The $830 comes from recent right-of-way purchases that we've made in other parts of the county. We've been paying $8,300 an acre. I recommend approval of the contract and request that the chair sign it.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Motion by DeWitt, second by Raddick. Hearing no discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Item B is to award bids for PCC crushing 2020-Schmilling construction for $177,654.
We took bids last week. That was the low bid for the work. Recommend approval of the, or award of the bidding.
I'll move the approval to Schmilling Construction.
Second the motion by Raddick. Hearing no discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Item C is to award bids for pavement markings 2020 to Iowa Plains Signing for $171,960.
This one was more difficult, as you noticed last week when we opened the quotes. The quotes were substantially higher than we anticipated. One of our other vendors who did most of our painting work up until the last 3 years still doesn't have their new truck up and running yet. We checked with our neighboring counties to see what their price per gallon was. They were in the low 20s for painting. The issue is one of labor costs. This year they've had trouble manning their crews with COVID and everything else going on. One of the other reasons we're about $3 higher than some of our neighbors, we require a broom follow or lead that paint truck out so that we knock dead animals and other debris off of the road ahead of the lines being striped. Don't like seeing double yellow lines across a raccoon body. So, we do require that they clean out ahead of the paint rig, which does cost us between $1.50 and $2 extra per gallon this way. Next year, we're going to try a different letting. We're going to try and let in January, give the contractor a much wider period to get the work done. Basically, we're requiring to have all of this work done within the next month and a half. By giving them a full summer to do that work, like some of our neighbors have done, they found that they were getting paint prices about $5 a gallon lower because, you know, they come in, do part of the paint, go out and take care of an I-29 or Highway 20 or other construction job, then come back in and do a little bit more. So I think we can work with that kind of a pattern. This year it's just a bit unfortunate that we have needs for a substantial part of our system. We're closer to 50% this year of our system than we were to 33% of our system being repainted. But based on all that, I'm recommending we go ahead and award the contract with Iowa Plains signing for $171,960.
Move approval.
I'll second the motion by DeWitt. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Thank you. We are at our 4:45 PM set time for item 11 from Board Administration. Item A is a public hearing on the proposal to enter into a lease agreement with the Woodbury County Law Enforcement Center Authority. Is there anyone from the public to question or comment? And with that, Dennis, would you like to give an overview on what this means? What happens after the 20 years, just for the good of the public, what the significance of this is?
Okay, this agreement the board is entering into with authority it's a major step. It does move us forward to start doing the borrowing procedures with our various professionals we have hired. It's over a period of 20 years. The county basically is responsible for all expenses. All the authority is doing actually build the building itself. That's what the bond issue is for. All the operating costs are defined in here. I believe they're all defined in here. And we get billed every so often to pay the expenses as defined in the agreement here. Also, the county will set aside 20% for a maintenance fund, which can be used for maintenance of the facility. It can also be used potentially for potential down the road to maybe construct additional space if we need it, or the last option would be to pay off bonds early. Then 80% of the federal money will go toward tax reduction. That'll probably be in 2 years because we have to get the building built. Hopefully it's done in the summer of 22, spring or summer of 22, and then we'll have 1 year to get our feet on the ground with how many federal prisoners come in. So in 22, 23, we should be able to feel the effect of federal prisoners on our tax asking to help reduce the taxpayers' cost. After 20 years, then at that point in time, the authority will revert it back to Woodbury County. And then after that, the authority probably, I don't know if it ceased to exist or not, but there probably isn't a need for an authority after the 20 years. And Joshua can kind of pipe in. And I want to thank, our attorneys. We've had Dan Moore work on this. We've had the attorney authority hired, and Joshua's put a lot of work into this. And finally boiled down to where I think everybody's happy. Josh had several corrections that they agreed to adopt into it. So I think it's worked out long. It took a long time to get it, but it is where we want to be. And Joshua, you can kind of fill in from there if you like.
Yeah, I can answer any questions. I mean, anytime when there's negotiation and different parties involved, it's usually a good sign that you have a good agreement if not everyone's completely happy. So that's probably where we're at. But I think that we have something that everybody can live with, and it's a good foundation for the agreement between the authority and the county going forward. And yeah, I'm comfortable with proceeding on it.
What's your understanding of the, what happens to the authority after the 20 years?
So that's actually addressed in the Articles of Incorporation rather than the lease agreement that's before the board today. I think that it's a vote of the authority board itself, and then it goes back to the incorporating entities to approve that, so it's not automatic. That gives some leeway if there were a reason, for instance, if the authority were going to issue new bonds or something. It doesn't foreclose the possibility of it continuing after the 20 years. But if everyone was in agreement with it closing out at that time, then it would just be a matter of the different entities holding a vote.
And there are probably some issues in here. There are not major issues, but it's like parking, security of the building, things like that. This can be amended as the building is processed, completed. Then we come back with definitions of where do people park. It's minor things. If you agree with that, Joshua?
I do want to thank everybody involved in this process to get us to this point. Again, every time we're taking this step, it might seem like a minor vote on the agenda, but it's been a lot of, uphill walking, I guess. It's kind of like climbing Everest here for the first time. There's not too many municipalities that have ever done this, not too many joint authorities in the entire state, and to get to where we're at, to have gone this far, I mean, it's really actually quite substantial. So it's just kind of fun to see this come together, and it's exciting to be a part of it.
And I did request this in our backup materials, but I know we did get an email with the full lease agreement, each of us, so the 45 pages.
I do have a copy here also.
Okay, and I want to draw attention to section 7.3 on maintenance payments. This was raised by the city, and this is an example of, working together. And I think, the county had already agreed to this from day one, but it's helpful to have it in writing that the maintenance payments will equal 20% of the additional revenues to be used for maintenance expenses. So any income the authority receives is 20% of that will be dedicated to making sure there's not a case where they need to issue bonds for a normal repair. So of a building this size, that's a substantial amount of money set aside potentially, if everything goes the way that we hope it will, to pay for maintenance.
And then the other 80% was?
The other 80% what?
Is the accelerated.
Yes, of additional revenues to the reduction of property tax liability in Woodbury County, Iowa, as it says in the lease. So that's important to note as well. So, any questions for Joshua or Dennis? Now's the time. Mr. DeWitt, you approved this through the authority earlier today. Any discussion you want to bring from that?
No, I mean, other than it's been a long time coming, and like I said, we need the authority is anxious to get going on getting the bonds and getting going on the financial side of it. So, speaking for the authority or not speaking for the authority, it's been a long time coming once again, and we're anxious to get going and making progress here.
So just briefly, what's the timetable on actually breaking ground from today?
Well, the anticipated plans, it takes about 2 months or less to get the actual proceeds from the first bond issue. First bond issue will be $25 million taxable. And what that gives latitude is we are on a definite time period to get the project done. The second half will be taxable bonds issued, or tax exempt bond issued when we actually know what the final price of the project's going to be. And that's the advantage of waiting until then. So the timetable is in 2 months or less, get the first $25 million. By fall, the architect should have the designs done. And hopefully by January, we're bidding this out for a project. And after it's bid out, I don't know how long it usually takes once the bid is let, but probably won't take too long to start. Hopefully January, and get completed in spring of 22 or summer 22.
And the authority has already decided on is it called an operator?
Yes.
That gathers the contractors to.
Yep. The representative for the authority is going to be Baker Group, and we got a very good price on that. We had a gentleman call and say, you got a really good price on it, and it's a flat fee of 3% of the project. And they cover all incidentals. There's no extra charge for incidentals, travel, whatever it takes.
And that'll coordinate the local.
Yes. And what that does by going this route with an out-of-town group, such as Baker Group, which they've done other projects here, that's a big selling point. They've already worked with the board and with Goldberg, is that now local firms can bid on a project. Mm-hmm. So, like the authority said, and I think the board agrees to, we want to keep as much local as we can with our workers here in Sioux City, Iowa, and Woodbury County. There are specialty things they can't do, but there's probably just very minimal of that.
So you're looking forward to 20 years on the authority there?
Yeah, that's probably not going to happen. But I think it's exciting that we're going to have to not say locals too often, because we do have the union locals, but it's going to be really beneficial to the area to have as many contractors that can possibly bid on it in our area. Let's say that, I know the carpenter's local, the electrician's local, those kind of entities are excited, and I know from involvement in union matters in the past that they can say if 231 doesn't have enough electricians, they can pull people from other areas, but it would still be considered a local project for the unions and such. So we're happy the way it's laying so far.
Anyone else to be heard during the public hearing? Hearing none, I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Second by DeWitt. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Item B now is to vote on the approval of the resolution approving and authorizing the execution of a lease agreement with Woodbury County Law Enforcement Center Authority.
I'll move it.
I'll second the motion by Radig. Again, thanks to everyone who worked on this, especially the attorneys, heading off problems when we're long gone. So very proud of this moment. As Mr. Radig said, a lot of small steps to this moment, but I'd say it's one small signature for the chair and a giant leap for local justice.
Wow.
I know. That's some background music.
That was deep.
I know. So we're just going to sit here and enjoy this moment for a while. Yes.
Just side note is that Jason is working on the lease for the city donation of $2.8 million. And that'll be a lot shorter lease than this one.
All right. Hearing no other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those say nay. Passes 5-0.
Quick question on that too. When was the timeline of the road project and utility project going to be
Okay,
in
on
relation?
that, we will be coming back to the board with we discussed this a little bit on civil engineer. We have to pick out and come back to the board, which will be civil engineer for the project, which the board hires, and also civil engineer for the project itself. And as soon as we get civil engineer, I think they can start rolling a little bit on that too. And we are having a meeting with FiberCom, a partnership with them on the fiber optics going in, potentially reaching a little help here, a little help there, on both sides.
Have we asked FiberCom about the potential to supply the nearby residents?
I don't believe so. Lynn said we could answer that better.
Okay. I wouldn't mind to have that question entertained.
They could splice it on.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, then we're on to item 12 from Community and Economic Development, Director David Gleiser. He has some information items tonight. First is A, Rural Comprehensive Planning Project Update.
Thank you, David Gleiser, Director of Community Economic Development. So as we accomplished and finalized these projects, I just wanted to give the board a brief update. And for those that might be listening or not know the background, the Rural Comprehensive Planning Project that we just finalized was really born out of a lot of work that the county expended as we looked at analyzing our use of local option sales tax dollars and coming up with new ideas and recommendations for ways to maximize the effectiveness of those dollars. And in doing so, we conducted a rural economic development needs assessment survey. We surveyed all the communities in Woodbury County as it relates to their needs for community and economic development. One of the common themes that was presenting itself in all the communities was the need to identify consensus on development. The communities had, a lot of them had outdated comprehensive plans, which is really the city's guiding document that hadn't been updated since the 70s. And so in doing some research, we found out that Woodbury County in the 70s actually paid to have comprehensive plans conducted for the majority of cities in Woodbury County. And so what we did in 2016 is we developed an RFP We submitted an RFP. We had numerous responses, and we ended up awarding a contract to Simmering and Corey. And we awarded the contract to Simmering and Corey not only because of the competitive price, but also because some of the benefits that they were offering in their package. They were partnering with what is the engineering firm's name? Right on the tip of my
McClure? McClure?
Not McClure.
No, sorry.
ISG, who is the resident city engineer for numerous rural communities out in the county. So they had a working relationship with ISG, an engineering firm. And really, what I liked about their proposal is that they would not only help us develop a comprehensive plan, but also identify potential funding sources, as well as do some preliminary engineering work. So in short, the county spent, or we budgeted $112,530 out of local option sales tax funds, but we only expended $107.30. So we came up $5,500 under budget, which is 4.8%. Most of the comprehensive plans have been adopted by the city councils, and so far it's been a good project. The cities have benefited from it. A couple of the cities, I'll mention later on, have used some of the information from their comprehensive plans for some housing-related projects. And so I guess I'm saying there's some utility out of it already and some benefit, and I do want to relay the thanks from the communities to the county for their support. Outside of that, if you have any questions, I'd be more happy to answer them.
That's great.
It's a good project, and, you know, it took a little longer than we had originally planned for. We originally entered into a 3-year agreement. We had some difficulties with coordinating out in some of these communities with loss of staff or city officials or what have you. So the county did extend the agreement 1 additional year, but we were able to successfully complete it.
Any other questions on this item? Then item B is an update on the financial support to Mobile, Salix, and Sergeant Bluff for planning and design-related services.
So out of our 14 rural communities, as I had mentioned, 11 of them entered into the Rural Comprehensive Planning Project. The other 3 that did not chose not to do so because they had updated comprehensive plans. The county and Simcoe, we had a partnership with the University of Iowa's School of Planning, and we were able to get a comprehensive plan done for the city of Salix at no cost. City of Sergeant Bluff and Mobile had fairly recently updated comprehensive plans. And so what the board decided to do was give those 3 communities a like dollar amount that the other counties were, that the other cities were receiving who were participating in our planning project. So the board budgeted $30,690 for those 3 communities, Salix, Sergeant Bluff, and Mobile. We actually expended $28,460, so 7.2% under budget, saved $2,230 on that particular project. Most of those dollars went towards updates to the city zoning ordinance and comprehensive plan, as well as a drainage ditch study that the city of Sergeant Bluff had conducted. So overall, it was another successful project, and those cities benefited from those dollars as well.
What did they find on that study with the drainage ditch in Sergeant Bluff?
What they would like to do is they would like to take a ditch from Sergeant Bluff down to Salix. Well, there's a couple of different scenarios, but essentially they want to take another ditch to the river.
Okay. Well, I think, most people who live there or have been there a while or pay attention have seen that there's just not adequate drainage in Sergeant Bluff. It's a very flat area. And
flat area, high water table, soil types, yes, so it's an area that's prone to water saturation for sure.
Any other questions? Then item C is an update on the rural workforce housing project.
This is a project that I have not really publicly presented to the Board of Supervisors before, but it's something that I've kept the board updated in various updates through email and phone conversations. In late February of this year, I was contacted by the mayor of Correctionville about a meeting that they were having with a developer who was interested in building some houses in Correctionville. Specifically, this developer came to Woodbury County because he was aware that we were one of the counties that were included in the presidential disaster declaration for flooding in 2019. In short, the state received some federal dollars that they put aside and said that we're going to make these dollars only available to the counties who were impacted by flooding, and we're going to make these dollars available for housing projects. And so this particular gentleman, his name is Jim Johnson of Healthy Efficient Homes. We talked, and what I quickly identified was he was looking to build a large number of homes, potentially 20 or more. We did not have that sort of inventory in Correctionville, but I thought, let me check some of the other communities in the county and let's see what we can do. So over a period of about a month and a half, we literally met with every city in the county, including Sioux City, to identify various infill lots. And so these are lots in existing developed neighborhoods that have not sold or been developed for whatever reason. And we made negotiations with cities to build on those lots. Part of the requirement for the workforce housing tax credit is that the local community provide an incentive of at least $1,000 per lot. Most of these communities have urban revitalization. They can provide tax abatements. We can use TIF. A variety of different sources can be used to provide that incentive. What we identified through our work was that we had a commitment from 3 cities, Correctionville, Anthon, and Salix. We proposed to build 5 houses in Correctionville, 2 in Anthon, and 1 in Salix. We submitted the application with the hopes that we would get the funding based on the 8 lots. It should have provided around roughly $300,000 in tax credits. Unfortunately, by the time the state finally received our application and reviewed it, $10 million was whittled down to roughly $65,000. So they said, it's yours if you like it. I had introduced Jim to some local investors, and the local investment group was expecting a return on the investment at roughly 20%, which is what the IEDA program provides. It provides a 20% tax credit on the first $150,000 worth of capital investment per lot. So basically, you would have gotten $30,000 per lot just on the tax credit. And so what we ended up deciding is that we would amend our application and lower that number so that the investors would receive the amount they were initially proposed with. And so unfortunately, we went from 8 houses to 2. But I am hopeful that, we're building relationships, and once we get a little of experience with these first 2 houses in future rounds of funding, I'd like to submit for those other 6 houses and potentially more. So I guess I'm really excited. I'm actually this is probably of all the projects I've done at the county, this is probably the one I'm most proud of, because we got this completed during the pandemic when everyone was quarantined and things were shutting down, and it was just a chaotic time to lead literally 14 communities, down this path. And so it was extremely difficult, but it's been probably the most exciting and rewarding project that I've worked on. And it's a very small dollar amount in comparison to some others, but it's got a lot of good potential. I think it's a good project.
Out of curiosity, which 2 places are we building?
We're going to build in Correctionville and Salix, and those were the 2 communities that opted to participate in first.
Okay.
We had 4 private lots in Correctionville, 1 city-owned lot, 2 city-owned lots in Anthon. Well, actually, it was 1, but we were going to split it in 2, and then 1 city-owned lot in Salix. So I'm excited because it's been very difficult to get housing developer to take a look at our rural communities and leave areas such as Whispering Creek or the Dunes. And so this is, to me, in my opinion, this is a very big win for the county, and I'm just really excited that that it's on track to move forward. So just want to share that.
Great.
I talked to you with you maybe after the meeting here too, and something.
Absolutely.
Any other questions on this? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
David. Item 13 is reports on committee meetings. Rocky?
None to speak of.
Marty?
Still forging ahead on the workforce development. Again, this is kind of like not necessarily forging new ground, but forging ground that hasn't been done in a long time. And moving forward with 18 counties, just again trying to get everybody at least a quorum to make it to meetings or Zooms is quite difficult, but we're getting a lot of the pieces in place, approving bylaws and those kind of things, and moving forward.
How are those other communities, are they all generally still Tuesday mornings for their meetings?
They're all over the board.
Generally a Tuesday or Thursday, isn't it?
Yeah.
Any other reports on committee meetings? Joshua, learned any new things from any law books you want to share?
Not that anyone would find interesting.
We listened to Raddick, you might as well give it a shot.
Hearing none. Item 14, any citizen concerns that were not already concerned by the citizens? Hearing none. Item 15, board concerns. I'd anticipate a closed session or two next week, starting at 3:30 or 4, so just be prepared for that. Anyone else have any board concerns? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.